Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. Myself and Lee Judges all to talk things, all thing football, but an Arsenal in particular. Asking the question: is it a little too late? That Arsenal have played in the last couple of games extremely well again. In particular, away at St James's Park. Before we start, make sure you all smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and get us up to our next target, which of course is 40k. Lee, it's been a while, bruv. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you very much. A few people in the chat already started taking the mickey at me, which is not very nice. You know what I mean? And who gives the monkeys and things like that? It's a bit out of order,
I'm
I
going to
think.
say this now. I'm going to say
Yeah,
this
I'm going to
now.
say this now. Yeah, it's a bit out of order. But other than that, I'm in fine spirits. Good weekend away at Newcastle. Yeah, I'm going to say this, Dan. I don't think people realise how good a result that was unless you was up there. Because I can tell you this now, you would have. No, you didn't go last year, did you? We
I
done
was
that. We
away.
done.
I was away at the weekend. I watched it, and the atmosphere. Wow, it's just
Yeah,
buzzing up there, isn't it?
and I think last year we done the studio together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So this is the first time I've been up there since the owners have took over, and I can tell you this now. I don't give a monkeys what anybody says. They are absolutely on point with their club. The atmosphere there,
Yeah,
they're all
it looks
together.
amazing.
Whether they win, lose, or draw, they don't care what those owners do. They love them for what they've given back their club. The atmosphere is hostile, but in a nice way. You know what I mean? I have to say they're very, very friendly, but they're a proper club again. Like their fans are all united together, and I noticed that when going up there and to get up there and get that result done and get that result is a lot harder than what you're actually thinking unless you've experienced it. So, they've been a broken club for the last few years. Newcastle, been going up there for a few years, and you can see at times they wasn't really in love with the club no more. One thing I think I was talking to on a show earlier on today about it. Do you know what they've done to? Do you know, like if you give up your season ticket in the Ashley era, the club got back in contact with them and said, "Do you want your
No way.
season tickets back?"
That's
Like
class. That's
yeah.
class,
So,
isn't it?
um, so what a little, you don't matter how much money you put in. That's a lovely little trick pre-art. You got to wait on the waiting list for how many years and all that. We know it was tough times. They look. What I think they've probably done is that they looked at, he's been a season ticket for so many years. He's give it up. Do you want that season ticket back? And
Mm.
they had the option of getting their season tickets back. It's just good PR stuff up there. They're a
Yeah.
very, very difficult opponent to beat, and we went up there. Rode our luck at times, Dan. I have to say, we did that. Which I think you need to at the big clubs, at the big games, and got a fantastic result.
It was, man. It was one that shocked a lot of people in football because everybody I spoke to said we were going to lose. I had no confidence going up there. I think last year's PTSD didn't help, but also big games away from home so far this season against big clubs in the top four. We struggled, mate. We ain't beat Man City. We ain't beat Man United. We couldn't get the 3 points at Anfield after throwing it away of 2-goal lead. It's only really been Stamford Bridge and White Hart Lane, but Chelsea and Tottenham are two of the worst performing teams in the league this year. So you can't say they were huge games. This was a massive one, though, Lee. And I think because Newcastle were on fire, they're up
Yeah,
there in the table. And someone made a great point. I don't know who it was. Was it on Match of the Day? It might have been Danny Murphy. He said, how far have both these teams come in a year? He said, how far have Arsenal and Newcastle come in 1 year? He said, they are both really good to watch, And I have to say this, but I watched it. I was in Great Yarmouth with family, and I was in the clubhouse with me, my dad and Mark, my nephew, and, my sister and my mum and niece were sort of potting around as well. And within 30 seconds again, or was it 2 minutes, we almost bloody conceded at the
mm.
post. And I'm thinking, what is it with us? We always seem to switch off completely in the first 5 minutes of the game. But I must say, when that goal went in, Lee, a little bit of a different sense of it. And Eddie Howe ended up getting the ump, didn't he, and saying that Arsenal didn't let us play. Well, if you reverse the fixture to not too long ago, earlier in the new year, Newcastle didn't let Arsenal play at the Emirates, and we basically did that. And I thought, Mikel Arteta deserved a hell of a lot of credit, in my opinion,
Yeah.
at the weekend, because tactically he got it spot on. He made brave decisions bringing Kivior and Jorginho back into the side from the Chelsea game, two players who played very, very well now in the last two games. And I think he switched it up a bit tactically. It was a bit more long ball at times. We weren't trying to play out from the back all the time. We had a lot of resilience and a lot of persistence when we were trying to do the things that we're good at, right? And it did come through in the end. But we made it difficult for Newcastle. And they're a good side, mate. They had good chances. Ramsdale kept us in it. They hit the post. They missed chances. But I was really impressed with the decision of Jorginho, with Kivior keeping his place, and with Martin Odegaard again, who I thought was sensational. But Leah, I asked the question of this podcast: is it a little too late now? Is it frustrating that against Chelsea and Newcastle, when there's not as much pressure, we turn it on?
Yeah, there's a little bit, whether it's pressure or not, I think that a little bit of game management at times. I felt that game yesterday, on the weekend, I've had a little look back at it. And I actually look back at other games as well, the West Ham game. This game was a lot more a lot more intensity to it. And we changed our tactics a little bit, as you said there. We were looking more dangerous to it teams on the but which I think we should have done in the past, by the way. We looked to it on the break with our two wide players and Jesus. By the way, the three of them's work rate was sensational. And every time we looked in the first half, we could have actually gone 4-1 up. I know that they hit the post. Ramsdale made a good save from Willock. But other than that, that was it. That's Newcastle flying, by the way, that were raining goals and raining shots in against some other team from North London a couple of weeks ago. And then we could have gone in 4-1 up at half time. In fact, I was actually disappointed. We was only 1-0 up in the first half and thinking, oh no, that there's still things to work on because you come out for the second half and within 2 minutes of that second half, the centre half's got a free header 6 yards out. Ramsdale makes a fine. So you can't be doing that. You cannot be doing that. That's got to be eradicated and it's got to be done if we're going to go on further in Champions League next season and the title. But a little bit of pressure off, but then also I think the pressure was on a little bit on this game as well, because if we drew or lost this game, it was all done. It was immaterial what happens in Real Madrid today and things like that. What was the important thing for me was we've kept it going for another week, where now they've got Real Madrid in between those games. And listen, I still say at this moment in time, I don't think what I'm looking at Manchester City, I don't think that they're going to lose another game. Manchester City, by the way, have not lost a game, not lost a game since they dropped points at Nottingham Forest. That's when we beat Aston Villa, however long ago that was. That is incredible what they've done. So what we were talking about earlier on is that all you can do is just put some sort of pressure on them, and who knows what happens in the Champions League today? I'm going to be really honest about it. We've got different opinions about this. I'm massively Real Madrid fan today. I've got white pants on, white socks, and I might go and put my white shirt on in a minute. Real Madrid all the way today, because if they can beat them, it might just knock their confidence a little bit, might knock them off their stride, and they might have a little bit of a wobble. I looked at them on. It's a funny situation. We got to Newcastle. We'll go and watch the game. 3:00 kickoff, wasn't it? After 10 minutes, I'm going, come on, let's go. Let's go. It's not worth sitting around in here watching this. And then we left, and then we got back to the hotel, and it was still 2-1, and they had that penalty, and then they missed that, and all of a sudden there was a little bit of vulnerability in them, and that was Leeds. So it can be done.
Fulham last weekend, if it weren't for that wonder strike from Alvarez, they weren't convincing. Fulham had a couple of penalty shouts, and it weren't like, wow, Man City 4-5s here, like we have seen.
Exactly.
I think we're trying to cling onto it, and we're trying.
Of course we are. You've got
pray, that's what we got to do.
Dan, what would be the worst thing today? What would be the worst thing if we'd have lost to Newcastle or drawn to Newcastle? They get beat by Real Madrid today, say 2-0. They go to the weekend trying to rest players to try and get it back in the next game. They lose to Newcastle. They then play Real Madrid. It goes to extra time penalties and they get knocked out. They're absolutely knackered. They go to their next game, whoever that may be, and drop 2 points there. All of a sudden, we'd be going, oh, if only we'd have won at Newcastle. If only we'd have done this and only done that. What we've got to do is just keep ourselves in it and see what happens. Do I think it's going to happen realistically? No, but there's still that little chance that it might do. We'll have to wait and see. But what we've got to do is just keep putting the pressure on. You know, they would have looked at that and thought, oh, I'll be really honest. They would have looked at that and thought, you know what, we're going over to Madrid. They're going to slip up. Newcastle will get something from that game, and that give us a little bit of a cushion to relax. We can rest a few players and whatever. And Bosch, they've gone and won it. You know what I mean? That puts a little bit more pressure on them and their team selection. They can't go too mad and rest too many players against Everton now. And what would be great is if it could, they could look at the Premier League and it could mess them up for the Champions League. You know, and I don't care what anybody says. That's what they want. The Holy Grail's that Champions League. So, you know, the longer they're in it, there's a better chance. So these next two games, I think that, listen, if they beat Real Madrid tonight and then they go and beat Everton at the weekend, you know, we can put up the tents, pack up our tents and go home. I'll give you that. But we'll see what happens tonight. You know, and at the weekend, Everton, by the way, are fighting for their lives. They beat us. You know, if you don't turn up at Everton, they do you, as we well know. You know, we didn't turn up at Everton and they beat us. So, you imagine if it's they're 2-0 down, they're looking at that, like, don't want to get no injuries, and the old toffees are flying into a few tackles and all that. That's what we want, a few flying tackles in there, like, you know, and maybe pick up a couple of injuries here and there. Who knows? Who knows?
It'd be nice. It would be nice.
That is what we've got to do. It'd be lovely. Be lovely today. I don't want to see players get injured. Of course you don't. But like, the realistically,
Just a knock, though, would be all right, wouldn't it? Just a knock.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Like, a
couple of games out for Haaland and De Bruyne would be lovely today if they pick up knocks and all that. Like, you don't want to see that. But this is football. Professional football's brutal. You know, what's cost us this last few games? A couple of injuries, you know, to Saliba and all that. Like, you know, we don't want to see it, but when it happens, you know, take it. And you need a little bit of luck in football, Dan. And I think we rode our luck a little bit on Sunday. Had a little bit of luck that we probably didn't have before. You know, I know the West Ham game. Look back at that West Ham game. We scored that penalty, win the game, Dan. Simple as that. Don't matter how well we play. We go on and win that game. The Southampton game is just one of those games that every team has. I haven't won.
We could have won that at the end, though.
We could have won it at the end.
You know?
That to me was the game where I look back, and not so much the West Ham game, certainly not the Liverpool game, but that Southampton game. I'll look back at that, and that was a killer one, because they're going to end up being bottom of the league, and we haven't beaten them, Dan, in 2 games. That will be the thing that I think people turn around and go, oh, if you've beaten Everton, and what about this one and that one? Listen, they've dropped points against Nottingham Forest in the bottom 3. Everton are in the bottom 3. It happens, you know. So it is, but that home game against Southampton, I think we'll look back on with regret at the end of it.
Well, if you remember, it weren't that long ago that Tom, you, and I were on here, and we just drew to Liverpool. And he said, if we beat West Ham, Southampton and City, we've won the league. And I remember thinking, I don't think we'll beat Man City, but we'll definitely beat West Ham and Southampton. And it's mad, because that's potentially what's then thrown it away. Now, I left Anfield disappointed. I didn't leave Anfield disappointed because we drew 2-2. I left Anfield disappointed because we threw the 2-goal lead away. Now, anybody would have said most seasons, we'll take 2-2, we'll take a draw, we'll take a point, we'll do that. We don't lose at Anfield. It's not that bad. There's no shame in that. But when you're 2-0 up and you almost lose the game, that's poor. But when you do it at West Ham the following week, that's even worse for me.
Yeah,
that was the one.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you on that one. That is. Listen, I go back to that Anfield game. Even though we was 2-0, I felt we needed to win that game. You know, Liverpool were 8th in the league at the time. I felt that we played when we was 2-0 up. I thought, oh my God, you know, I said it. If we went to Liverpool and won, we'd have had one hand on the trophy. I do believe that. You know, but what I will say is that watching Newcastle yesterday, watching Liverpool, and then being up there in Newcastle, and then being up there at Manchester. There's we're miles apart, not miles, but we're much better side than Newcastle. We're much better side than Manchester United and the likes of those sort of teams there, and the points of it shows. And then there's a gap between us and Manchester City. There is, Dan. I see that in the game at Manchester City. They were by far a better team than us, by far. I have to say, I didn't really enjoy watching the game against Newcastle because it was, a roller coaster of a game. But I always felt we looked like we could win it. Manchester City, we was never in it. We was never in it from the first minute.
No.
That was a tough watch.
I think that's what frustrated me more was we rolled over. And since then, Lee, I've seen Man City play Fulham, Leeds, and West Ham, and all three of them teams at least put up a bit of a fight, and it was respectful. We got battered, absolutely battered, and it could have been 6 or 7 up there. It really could have been. It was so poor. That's what frustrated me the most. And I feel now, Mikel Arteta, in the last 5 games since the Liverpool game, he's learned maybe just a little bit too late, in my opinion. I don't see Holding in the side no more. I see Tierney being used as a substitute. It's like everything he should have done at Liverpool, West Ham and Southampton, he's now decided to do a bit too late, which is good because he's learning. But it's like, if only he would have done that a bit earlier, we might have actually done something. We might have taken a point we might have taken 3 points at Anfield. If Tierney's on, does Zinchenko get nuts? Does Tierney get nuts, like Zinchenko does? Who knows? Possibly not, because he's actually a wicked defender. We take 3 points, not 2. Yeah, I mean, these are the sort of things you have. Now, Tierney actually played against West Ham, I think it was. Southampton changed it up again. So I think he's learned, but again, he's learned a bit too late. And listen, I have more confidence now going into Brighton, Wolves and Forest than I ever have done. Because the pressure is it's off Arsenal. Everyone thinks we've lost the league. There's absolutely, if it comes to the end of it, Lee, now, and it goes Arsenal second, no one's going to go, no way, you're kidding. How have they not won the league? Everyone's going to go, well, that's obvious. We know City have won it. So the pressure is off of Arsenal now. It's off. We can't come third. We can only come first or second. We're probably going to come second. We're relying on Man City to drop points. If they do drop points to Everton and to Brighton and these teams that they got, then trust me, the pressure comes right back onto our tails, and we've got to then win the remaining 2 games, knowing that we can win the league. But for me, we've got to need a bit of a miracle really for that to happen, in my opinion. But we'll see.
I get what you're saying there. I'll throw that back at you, like, you know what I mean? Like, as the pressure, not on Manchester City when they was chasing us, all of a sudden now, not brilliant. Once it was in their hands against Fulham, weren't that brilliant against Leeds? Weren't that brilliant against West Ham? Who, by the way, played a reserve team. So maybe the pressure changes a little bit. All of a sudden, Manchester City now have got everything to lose. They've got everything to lose. For Manchester City now, everybody's talking about the pressure, but 2 or 3 bad games, Dan. It's like a bad week for them. Right, let's be really honest. A bad week for them, right? And this is how a bad week can go for them. Like, yeah, they lose to Real Madrid tonight. They lose to Everton. They get knocked out of the Europa Champions League on the Wednesday. They then come and play. I don't know who their next game is.
Chelsea, I think, at home.
So, and they draw with Chelsea, right? Then everybody's going, "Oh my God, they could end up with nothing." Right, end up with nothing. What pressure would that be like going into that FA Cup final against Man United? Like, that's how fine margins it can be. They could well end up winning nothing at this moment in time. Do I think that they will? No, I'm not going to put my willy on the old chopping block and say, like, if Man City win everything, I let the axe go. Like, I'm not going to say that. Like, but what I'm saying is, it's a possibility that it can happen, and if it does happen, we have got to be there to take care of it. So I do think that pressure comes with it in their hands a little bit because they haven't been as great. But listen, what they've got different to us is that they can afford to change 3 or 4 players around like they did against Leeds. You know, let's be really honest with it, Dan. They left out Grealish, they left out Rodri, they left out Stones. Right, let's leave out 3 of those players, top players for Arsenal. Can we afford to do that?
Agreed. And that's what's let us down.
That's the difference.
That is the difference.
That is the difference at this moment in time. And this is the thing that I want going into next summer. Because I'm one more so than you. That I've left a few excuses. Oh, we haven't got enough squad. You know, that's why we've gone out of the FA. I'm not having that next season. We're in the Champions League. I don't want to be going into games and going, well, we'll throw away this game because we haven't got a big enough and strong enough squad. That has got to be next season. That is not acceptable. I get it this season because that's where we are. But next season now in the Champions League, I don't want us turning around and say, and anybody make an excuse for it and going, oh, we've got bigger fish to fry, we've got a bigger game coming up at the weekend. That's why we've got, and feel comfortable that we've gone out of the FA Cup because of it, or comfortable out of the League Cup with it. No throwaway games next season, and that comes down to the squad and the way you finish it. And the way you manage it, because that is something that I give Pep credit for, that he does fantastically well, Dan. He manages his squad, and a big squad, very, very well. But at this moment in time, they can leave out 4 of their best players. We left out Granit Xhaka against Southampton and struggled, Dan. We left out Granit Xhaka. I'll tell you what, Xhaka, by the way, was outstanding on. But if we left him out of a game, we can't afford to rest Xhaka.
Well, we did rest him. Actually, we didn't rest him. He was ill against Southampton. Look what happened.
Exactly. And he wasn't well in the game against City neither. He's, and we haven't got that where Manchester City have, and that's the difference between the two sides at this moment in time. And I don't want to be going into next season going, well, we're going to the FA Cup, and it don't matter if we go out the FA Cup today.
Please, I hate that this season, let alone next season.
Yeah, I have done, but I can see why. I've even going out of the Europa League this season, I thought, we couldn't. I didn't feel the squad was strong enough to compete on two fronts, right? So I get it, even though I didn't want it, But now I don't want that next season. We can't, because we're in with a chance of the Champions League and the league. There's got to be some serious work done in the summer. Serious work done.
I think for me, got to go out of everything. Got to go out of everything because we're going to win it. Make sure you win it then. Don't come away empty-handed. But yeah. We could do. And that's the problem with throwing these cups away. It's fine if you win one. If you take away the 3 you're going for and go, do you know what? We're going for 4. If we miss out on them 3, at least we've got that one. We can't say that, Next season, we need a squad. Next season, we're looking up at one team. We're not looking down at the other 18, are we? We're going, right, what do we need to get to that one? And we need
exactly
players.
that. Exactly that.
We need players. I'm not looking at, that's what Liverpool are doing. That's what Man United are doing. What Newcastle, they might spend. Don't care about them. Let's look at them. How do we get like them? Because they've just
how do we overtake
that them? Is what we need to do. How do we overtake them? None of this. Let's make sure we hold on to second. We ain't going to catch them. We'll bring in 1 or 2 and we'll just see if we can go again. No, I want to be bringing in the players to be competing with them, because we've had enough windows now. We've had 4 years of this process. Let's go and bloody win the title next year, yeah? Now, we could still win it this year. I get it. We could do. But we're in the Champions League next year. So I don't want this. If we go out the Champions League, it's because it's our first year back in it after 7. No excuses. I'm not having any of this. I've had enough excuses, Lee, in the last 4 years. Next season, we need to be the real deal. And we need Kroenke to put his money where his mouth is, which he has 100%. Done, to be fair. We need Mikel Arteta and Edu to select the players that they want together as a team, and we need to go again stronger next season. Because when Manchester City can afford to bring on Grealish and Foden, and we're bringing on Fabio Vieira and Eddie Nketiah, there's a problem, right? We ain't going to compete with them like that. So we need to change that next season. So if we need to go and get Declan Rice and Moses Caicedo and Tammy Abraham and put in a bid for Mount or Maddison or whoever it is we're linked with in terms of attacking midfield, go and get that centre-half that we need, which is apparently Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace. Go and get these players. None of this we can't really afford to get all them. We need 3 windows to get them. We've had 6 windows, right? We've had enough. Let's go and get them, because everyone's frustrated that we're going to be coming second this season potentially. So let's make sure it don't happen next season. Now, we have shown progress Each season, we've come 8th, we come 5th, we've just missed out on 4th. Now we've just potentially missed out on the title. So the next one then is going where they win it. And, I want to see us competing next season. I want to see us going to the deep stages of both the domestic cups. I want to see us getting into the quarterfinals at least of the Champions League. These are not tough asks for a club the size of Arsenal, in my opinion. We shouldn't be looking at League Cup and play the kids go out in the second round. Not really a problem. FA Cup, we won 14 of them. We don't need another one of them. Champions League, well, it's our first year back. We'll be lucky if we get through the group stage. But what about the league? Well, second because Man City are too good. All that attitude needs to leave it in this season. Go for next season and go for everything, because this is what the Arsenal should be demanding, Lee. We should be playing at the very, very top. Very, very top.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like, this is what we're saying. Like, I get why people are saying, "Oh, it's been a fantastic season. We come second and all that." It's still disappointing, the squad isn't quite strong enough, and all of those sort of things. We're not quite ready to. The title challenge is a year too early or whatever. Like, well, it's not now more. Next year, it's all on everybody, and that is the fans as well. And I mean this to see, like the fans not accepting second and third best, which I have done this season. I've accepted that, to have a genuine title challenge, which I've loved. Then, by the way,
absolutely,
a genuine title challenge, which it still is at this moment in time, a genuine title challenge. I've been willing to sacrifice the Europa League, the FA Cup, let them slide this season. Give the club, give the manager and everybody a break on it, because I haven't seen us challenge for the title for so long, and it's been a fantastic journey. I've going watching games. It's been fantastic. But next season, it's not about that. It is about looking at Liverpool. Liverpool have challenged for the title for the last 5 years, won it once. Lost out 4 times. They've picked up FA Cups, League Cups, and Champions Leagues. I'll take that. I'll take that along the way with a genuine title challenge, and that's what we have got to do over the next 3 or 4 years, Dan. That is what we've got to do, because if we don't, this is our window of opportunity. This is our time. We've got players at this moment in time are getting better and better in Martinelli and Saka and Jesus. They're going to be in their prime. Odegaard's just going to get better and better. We've got a back 4 or 5 that is getting into its prime. Not really with the Saliba but Kivior and Gabriel are looking very, very good. Tierney, I thought was brilliant at Newcastle when he came on. Great decision by the manager. Shinchenko's got to improve on his defending. I think he will. So, but then we've got to add the 3 or 4 players, and if we add those 3 or 4 players, I think then we'll be. I don't, like all this 5, 6 players. I don't know about that. We need to add 3 or 4 top players, and I mean, if we do get Declan Rice, I will be disappointed if Casida is not with us as well. Because they're not just for now; they're for the future as well. I think Partey may be coming towards the end. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to be able to get through a season. He looks a little bit jaded. That's why we've had to do that. But look, listen, Jorginho's come in and done fantastically well. But are you going to be happy with Jorginho playing 30 games next season? I'm not going to be. So we need to improve in that area.
Let's deep it quick, right? Because you've just made a great point. I'm going to say some names, and I want you to tell me how many of them you would go, brilliant backup. Keep them. Rob Holding, Jorginho, El Neni, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Fabio Vieira. That's 6 players. I would say all 6 of those we could get upgrades for. So if you get 3 of them, that means 3 of them are still going to be back up next season.
I wouldn't mind Nelson playing in the FA Cup and things like that and backing up things. If I'll be honest,
he's going. He's definitely done. He's not signing.
So we've got to have him replaced. So that would be if we're not going to replace Nelson, then we're going to have to bring in a forward of another thing, because then you've got someone like Smith Rowe that can back up the wide players. and Trossard, which would be good backups for them. Centre forward, that would be okay. Midfield, Dan, the midfield's got to be addressed.
Agreed.
Two players. Lukonga, he can go. As far as I'm concerned, if we can get some sort of money back on him, El Neni, I would keep. I would definitely keep El Neni just to play League Cup games and FA Cup games, things like that. Definitely in the squad. I don't think he's that bad, but he can back up, be the number 5 behind 2 top midfield players. Jorginho the same. He's got another year. You might as well keep him. But if he plays over 10, 15 games, that's been a poor summer for us. Been a poor summer for us as far as the transfer was. Defensively, I think we need one more in there. I do think that we need one there, and I'm probably going to say I think we both agree with this. Another goalkeeper, and a backup goalkeeper that we've experienced that you could rely on. I'm not so sure about Turner at this moment in time, but someone that you could turn around and go, do you know what? He can play Champions League. That's what I would say there. But I would think that to get Casido, get Declan Rice, whatever the two main ones, I'd get in straight away, and then I'll see what we could do from there. Because don't forget, we've still got Balogun to come back into the squad, who might be a decent one. But if not, then we need more than that. We need, well, as I say, four top signings, and Dan, the signings that are coming that have got to be here have got to be players that I think now are going to improve the team.
Yep, absolutely. No more young kids is going to be 5 years away. We need something now. We need something now, and I'm with you. Like, I'd if you said to me now, he's about 34, 35, is he? Would you rather have Kasper Schmeichel was back up, or would you rather have Matt Turner? I'm taking Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Why wouldn't we go and get him?
Go and get Kasper. He's going to do a couple of years in an Arsenal shirt. He'll definitely come to London. He's at Nice, where he's not really happy, in my opinion. Go and get someone like that to back up Ramsdale. Go and get the centre half at Palace, Mark Gare. He looks quality. If that's going to be cover for Saliba and better than Holding, let's do it. Go and put in a bid for if Leicester go down. Go and get James Maddison. He's better than Vieira. He's going to compete with Ødegaard for a place. Go and get Rice and Caicedo. Tammy Abraham's being told he can go for £40 million. Go and get him. Massive gooner, Premier League proven, different profile striker. They're the sort of players we need, Lee, because they're coming straight in. It's not like, oh, well, I'll give a couple of years and he might be half decent. No, they're ready now. Get them. You know what I mean? Get them all in. So we're going to need a lot of money for that, Lee. We're not going to need 100 million. This is going to be a like 250 million signing. Back in the Champions League, tell the Kroenkes this is what we need to compete with Man City, and we go for it.
Well,
and
listen,
we're relying on that.
This is where this will be a fascinating summer for us because of that. Because for me, if that's the case, you're going to spend that sort of money. You've also got to get some back. So Eddie would be one to sell 20, 30 million. Sell him to West Ham, give him part of the deal for Declan Rice. I don't know, something like that, along those lines. Pepe will have to be sold. I know it ain't going to be a lot, but if you get 10 million for him, that helps to go towards that. Lukonga sold, Holding sold. And it could be the case that that 2 or 3 like if, say, for instance, Aston Villa make a massive, 40, 45 million for Smith Rowe, we might have to think of taking that, that's what we'll have to do, you know what I mean? So I do think we're going to have to sell some players to
well, Tierney and Smith Rowe and Balogun are the 3 they're saying they're going to have to go. But I don't want that to happen, if I'm honest.
Tierney would be I think a massive loss, you know what I mean? But
I think all 3 of them would be fair. I mean, Balogun we can't say actually because he ain't really done anything yet in an Arsenal shirt. But Smith Rowe, I think we need to keep him because he's good cover. Tierney, I've just named 6 players that we need to upgrade. Add another 2 if you're going to get rid of them. That's 8. I mean, we need to try and bolster our squad, not get rid of him. You know what I mean? So we need to keep hold of them 2, in my opinion. Because how much is it going to cost to replace Smith Rowe and Kieran Tierney? 80 million?
Well, yeah, Dan. I don't think they're looking to replace him. I'm looking at them to fund, the two central midfield players and a
Yeah,
striker.
and that's the problem because we're weakening the squad if we do that. That's what I mean.
Yeah, such as some other players might have to step up. But listen, that's why it's going to be an interesting summer. I do think, if you're going to, if Arsenal are going to buy, say if they're going to buy Casido, Rice, we'll go Tammy Abraham. Then we're going to say Tammy Abraham. Same maybe even Gear Palace and even Madison. That's 5 players, right? You know what I mean? You ain't getting change out of 300 million, let alone 200 million.
Easy.
So you're going to have to try and raise 100 million from sales. Now, Tierney, let's just say for this, 3 players like Tierney, who should we say? Tierney, Eddie, and Smith Rowe would give you that 100 million. And then maybe you got to go and buy a young fullback coming through. That's, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how many games has Smith Rowe played this season?
Oh, not many.
Not many. So
what? It is a worry. It's never been about ability with Smith Rowe. It's about his injury. I mean, the whole season off, and I don't even know what's wrong with the kid. Like, he's still not coming on. You know what I mean? He's still not really playing, is he?
So if you've not used a player that's got you to second in the league for a whole season, which is basically which we haven't done. And listen, I'm not having a go at Smith Rowe. I love Smith Rowe, as everybody knows. But from a business point of view, if you're going to get offered 40, 50 million, and that's going to fund you a Casido or a Declan Rice, do you take that? That's the conundrum we've got, and that's the decisions that we're going to have to make. Tierney is, if you're getting 40 million for him, are you prepared to let that 40 million go for someone that comes on in the second half when we're 1-0 up? Or back up to Shinchenko. For me, again, I wouldn't sell Tierney. I'll be honest. But if you say to me, I'll put that to you. If I say to you, right, as we can get Casido and we can get Declan Rice, but we're going to have to lose them two. We're going to have to lose Tierney and Smith Rowe. Would you take that deal?
The only reason I would is because we're desperate for midfielding reinforcements more than we are left back
in those areas.
Left midfield.
Exactly right, and that's what we're going to have to look at. Dan, that is something that we're going to have to look at. I think anyway, unless they're going to spend 300 million. Like they go right now. We're going to bring in 4 or 5 players and keep everybody. Don't forget, you can only keep 25. You're going to have 25 anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who though.
If we're having to get funds for players, let's be real. Balogun potentially, Eddie. These are all potentials, by the way.
Yeah. We're just chewing the fat here.
Yeah, Balogun, Eddie, Pepe, Maitland-Niles, Pablo Marie, who's already gone. Nuno Tavares, Lokonga. That's 7 players. And then you make a decision over holding. Looks like El Neni and Jorginho are going to stay. And then you make the decision on a couple more. Granit Xhaka being linked with a move to Bayern Leverkusen. Kieran Tierney being linked with a move to Newcastle. And Smith Rowe being linked to a move to Aston Villa. So you've got potentially 10 players there that are all linked with, that are probably a lot of them are going to go. And some of them linked with a rumour. Is that going to be enough to recoup 150 million? Who knows? To add to the hopefully the 200 that Kroenke will give us. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Look, and listen, people laugh and say 50 million for Smith Rowe. We're not saying it is worth it, but it's going to have to be a good offer to get him out of the club. If someone comes in,
saying 50 million to be.
No, but even if someone said, I don't think we ever. I said 40 million, but say if someone comes in and says, "Oh, we're going to give you 20 million for Smith Rowe," I'm not doing. We don't have to. That. No. It's going to have to be something that's going to make us sell. You know what I mean? Like we ain't going to sell Tierney for 20 million, guys. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be over 30, or he stays. It's as simple as that. Same with Smith Rowe. Tavares is an important one, in the thing. Listen, what I'm trying to get, if someone comes in with a £50 million offer for Smith Rowe, I'm not saying that they are. Arsenal will take it because you're looking at a player that's not played for us that much. You know what I mean? Is he worth 50 million? No, not at this moment in time. I get that, but if a club is silly enough to come in and pay 50 million for him at this moment in time, then I think Arsenal will sell. I'm not being horrible. Tavares is, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but if Newcastle come in and say, Danny, I know you love Tierney, but if Newcastle were to come in and say we're giving you 45 million for him,
He's
I
going to
think
go.
he'd go.
Yeah.
I think he'd go.
I think the thing is with him is he wants to play. He's not like, I hate Arsenal, get me out. It's awful here. He just wants to play first team football. And if I'm honest with you, in the last 6 weeks, he might be scratching his head thinking, how is the hell is this guy playing ahead of me? He's been awful because he has been. He's been absolutely terrible, Zinchenko. Absolutely awful. So I think he's probably thinking, I ain't going to get a game here. The manager don't rate me enough to get me, so I'm going to have to go. And that's a shame, but it's football. It happens. He ain't Arteta's signing. You've got to remember, a lot of people forget that Tierney was not Arteta's signing.
No, I've always said that. No, I've always said that. I think that the only one that's continued to play under him is Xhaka. That wasn't his signing. Now I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong here. If Tierney has signed a long-term contract under Arteta, he must have done. So. He has signed him as a new contract under him, but he isn't his player, which is I've always said that, Dan, is a big thing. You know what I mean? Even when I play football, if a manager brings you to the club, you've got more chance of playing than if
absolutely. No, that's facts.
The way it is.
That's
because why would he bring you in? So it is a very interesting thing. Like I think that it's good. Listen. Someone said this today. How do you improve? It's going to be very, very difficult to. Let's forget about take Manchester City out of the equation at this moment in time. They're out of the equation, right? We would have romped the league this season. So where do we? It's very, very hard to say where you're going to improve because we are so much better than everybody else in the league, barring Manchester City. But Manchester City, it's disappointing. As it is, but they are a reality that they are here. They're not here, so they are here. So it's very, very important. When you turn around and go, it's still, like very, very hard to improve on what we've done. Because to lose 4 games so far, let's just say like in a season, if we was to win every game now, we get 90 points. Now 90 points is.
It's enough to win you any other league anywhere, isn't it?
Exactly, Dan. So, but you're up against this other team. So it's very, very hard to say, right, we've got to improve. So when you are improving that, it's going to cost you a lot of money, Dan, because the players you've got are obviously bloody good to get you 90 points. So, it's not cheap. It's not cheap this summer. So it's not going to be cheap getting the players in, and we've got to be probably ruthless selling players as well. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Listen, it's going to be difficult, but we got to demand the best. We got to raise the standards and make sure that we're doing it. What I don't want is, Kroenke's giving us 80 million to spend here. Like, come on, like we need a lot more than that to compete, and that's what we got to be looking at. It got to be realistic. We're not going to go and spend 800 million, but at the same time, we have actually got to go and compete and spend here to try.
And Dan, I'm going to be really honest now. If that is the original, and we don't know it is, but if that is what West Ham are quoting for Declan Rice, then that's the end of that. He's not worth 120 million pounds.
He ain't going to go like, okay, let me just quickly ask on this because this is my thoughts. West Ham know they can ask that. They know he's not worth it. No one says he is. But he's got a year on his contract with an option to extend it. So West Ham can ask what they want, right? He will go in the summer. I don't know if he'll go to Arsenal. I hope he does. But he will go. But he will go for about 85 to 90. Now, the other thing to that is he ain't worth 120 million. Is Jude Bellingham worth 120 million? Is Alexis McAllister from Brighton worth 90 that Liverpool apparently got to pay to get him? The answers are no. The market has gone crazy because of teams like Manchester United who pay 100 million for Anthony, and Chelsea who pay 100 million for Lukaku, and Enzo Fernandez who cost them 115 million. That's why Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham are 120 million with their English tax. Is Harry Maguire worth 80 million? Was Pepe worth 72? Was Havertz worth 90? Was
No,
Sanchez worth 95? All of this is no, 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 no. But the market has gone so crazily ludicrous. Grealish, 100 million. What has Jack Grealish, Declan Rice, and Jude Bellingham done in world football to give them that price tag? Nothing.
100%. And the fact is the difference between Grealish and Declan Rice is that Grealish is £100 million player because that's what he went for. Like, you know, the only way that he'd be worth 100 or they get that is if someone's prepared to pay it. Now, the decision is it's
Like
the same
Chelsea.
with Harry Kane. Harry Kane is worth. You know, Tottenham could overprice Harry. You know, say like, you know, Man United, how much is Harry Kane worth? 120 million, right? Okay, you know, what do you do if you're Harry Kane? You wait to the end of the season and go for free. Declan Rice can do that the following season. You know, I'd rather wait a year and get him for nothing than spend 120 million pound. That is the questions that are going to come into to the mind. And for me, if that's the case, that I'd turn around and go, right, we go for Casido this season. We get through with Jorginho and whatever, maybe bring in another one from somewhere, and then next year we get Declan Rice. So, you know, that's unfortunately that's how some clubs have to, Arsenal's and Liverpool's may have to work because we haven't got that money to go.
The only thing that could happen is he could say, look, I'm leaving. I know you 120 million for me. The teams that are going to pay that, I don't want to go to, i.e. Chelsea, because they ain't in the Champions League. Arsenal, I know they've only offered you 100 or something rising to 100, but I want to go there. And then he'll go. That's the only thing that we can have is the players do get a decision for this sometimes. Mudryk didn't. He just wanted to leave Ukraine, didn't care where he went, and went, who are they? Chelsea. All right, what is it, 90? Okay, I'll go there. Then they've offered more money. Now, Chelsea could do that. They could offer money, but Declan Rice has got to want to go to Chelsea. And what we hear is that he wants a Champions League club and he wants to stay in London. Well, he ain't really. He's narrowed that down pretty simply then, isn't he? He wants to come to Arsenal, right? Now, he could end up going City. He could go Real Madrid. We don't know this yet, right? Like Jude Bellingham, everyone thought Liverpool. Looks like he's going to go Real Madrid. But this is going to be a crazy summer, Lee. We've already spoken about Harry
100%.
Kane. Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, James Maddison, Declan Rice, all these players are going to be wanting moves away. You know, this is a huge summer, man.
Yeah, you know, like Ivan Toney's being mentioned. I would take Ivan Toney, but not at this moment. You know,
Well, you don't know what's happening with his.
you don't know what's
and how long
happening with
he's
him. Like,
banned
you know,
for.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
I would. I love him. I think he's quality.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. Obviously, his band's not going to come into play this season. It's going to be next season because there'll be all hell breaks loose if they ban him for the last game. The last couple of games now, it's just not going to happen. So he's going to be maybe looking at a lengthy ban next season. So you wouldn't be going in there and getting him. Like Paulinho at 60 million wouldn't be a bad deal. Wouldn't be
Yeah,
a
I
bad
like
deal
him
for
from
Fulham.
Good
We've done
player.
a very, very good deal with Fulham for the likes of Bird Leno. We give him a good deal on that. They may decide to give us a good deal back. Who knows? I don't know. We give him. God, I even forgot was the right Cedric. He hasn't even played for them this season, like as well. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they won't deal with us, like, you know. So, but like, yeah, it's a fascinating thing that's going to happen. Fascinating, but I tell you what, I don't want to have, Dan, at the end of it is coming out of January. Coming out of September, disappointed. We haven't done enough business. I don't want to be doing that and going, oh, we've got to wait till January again, like, you know. And
Yeah, facts. We've done that. The last few windows, we've done that. That's
yeah,
frustrated the hell out of
so
me.
massive summer. Look, this is going to be. I think it's going to be an exciting summer for us Arsenal fans. I really do. Whether we'll be totally excited at the end of it, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's an interesting thing. But you know, we're definitely needing to improve the squad and the team, and to improve that, you've got to be. They've got to be big signings, Dan. They have to be big.
Yeah, facts, mate. Facts. Listen, before we do the last couple of super chats to come to a close, I wanted to mention a couple of players from Sunday, and just get your thoughts quickly. We'll do them all together. Kivior, Jorginho, Kieran Tierney and Martin Odegaard. They were the ones for me that
Oh,
were deserving a mention. I mean, Martin Odegaard now has scored as many goals as Cesc Fabregas has in an Arsenal shirt in one season, which is 15. He's got the third best away record in the Premier League, up there with Frank Lampard, who was the last to do it in terms of goals scored. A player I've called out, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. A player I've called out in the last couple of seasons saying, come on, mate, you need to score more goals. Well, wow, he must have heard me and listened because he's not only got assists, he's got some unbelievable goals. The front four this season, I know Jesus has been out for 3 months, but he's still got double figures. Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard now all on 15 goals, which is crazy, absolutely superb. That's just how good our front four has been. The decision for Jorginho, absolute class for me, easily man of the match. I thought he was outstanding. It was ridiculous. I know Gary Neville went over the top, saying he had a Paul Scholes moment, but I honestly believed he was superb, and it was a great decision in the end. And Kivior, I heard something today, and I wanted to get your take on this. The reason that Arteta didn't play him earlier was because he had communication problems, and he threw him in, and there's a couple of mistakes he made, so he took him back out. He's worked on communication with him. He's brought him back in, and I have to say, in the 2 games he's played against Chelsea and Newcastle now, not only does he look good, but he's made Gabriel look less shaky. Rob Holding he ain't the guy. I know everyone's going to get on his back and, he's crap, why has he played? We get it. Rob Holding's not good enough. I'm not going to go on it too much, but it just proves, doesn't it, that Arteta's gone, do you know what? I love you, Rob. I've stuck up for you, but you just ain't got it. And now he's brought Kivior in, and it's looked a little bit better. What do you make of them players, man?
The one thing about Holding that he hasn't got what Kivior has got is pace. And I think the pace, is what you need as a defender. If you look at Gabriel, you look at Saliba, you look at Kivior, what have they all got is pace. And he's been brilliant when he's coming. I thought he was brilliant again at the weekend. And I think it was the right time to bring him in as far as give him a home game, first of all, against Chelsea before, it would have been a little bit unfair chucking him in against Manchester City. I know that, but sometimes you have to do that. Maybe he could have brought him in again earlier. But listen, it was a difficult decision because Holding wasn't really at fault for a lot of things. You just we look a lot better with knowing that, because we play high up then, you know what I mean? So that you've got to be comfortable, and comfortable is if you've got pace, he knows you can get you out of it. One thing that Jorginho hasn't got is pace, but he's got football intelligence and bravery, and I mean bravery, not by putting your foot in. I've said this before. He takes the ball in difficult positions where you have to be brave on the ball, rely on your ability, rely on your technique, and he done it fantastically. He was outstanding against Newcastle. Could he have done that against Manchester City? I don't know, but listen, it was a massive call because realistically, Partey just lost forms when he come back from that international thing. Before that, Partey was flying. But, that's what a good player comes in and does. And Jorginho's done fantastic. I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I also think Aaron Ramsdale needs to be given a mention because without him, we don't win that game. And also Granit Xhaka. I think in the 2 games, Southampton and Manchester City, I know he played in the game against Manchester City, he wasn't fit. Look at that run where he tracked back 70 yards to stop Willock. That doesn't get highlighted as much as it should in that. He's been outstanding, and he's back to his very
been outstanding all season, mate.
Yeah, and he had a little drop off, but he's been fantastic in the last couple of games, and we've won them 3-1 and 2-0, and it's no coincidence, Dan, if I'll be honest with him there. I'm going to have to say, I thought Tierney coming on when he did was fantastic as well. And if you look at it, we limited a very, very good side, Newcastle, to not that many opportunities in the second half. I thought we controlled the game a lot better in the second half. Jorginho being one of them that done that, So, look, that's what you want, players coming in and doing very, very well. Odegaard, by the way, listen, I know you criticise him, but you've always said there's a player there.
Who's that? Sorry,
Odegaard. You've given him a little bit of stick, but
my criticism was never his talent. It's always been he's a talented
You've
boy.
always said that there's a player there. We've always said that there's a player there. I've always backed him, but you've always said, he needs to do more. He needs to do more. and he's doing it now. And my God, I thought he was. So I know he missed that
Mustard.
chance at him, but the way he created it was fantastic. And I thought he led the team again, being brave in areas of the field which are not as tough as the area. It's very, very difficult to play in the area he does, but it hasn't got the pressure of, say, where Jorginho plays it. But he's always wanting the ball, wanted to get on the ball, wanted to make an impression. And I think that that's something that maybe we've got to, when we go to Man City next season, is be a little bit like what we was, just, digging a little bit like, I think Arteta said that a few times, dig in and then it on the break. Because when we did look it on the break, with the likes of Odegaard, and then you got the Martinelli. Look at that Martinelli goal. I know it was an own goal, but he took the ball 60 yards.
Yeah.
Saka was doing it on the other side, and they looked dangerous. We looked dangerous up front and also with Jesus. But, it's great that when you see people like Jorginho coming in and Kvyat and playing as well as what they done, I thought that they were fantastic. And, listen, there ain't no harder place. There's one harder place to go to in the league at the moment, and that is Manchester City, and get a result. So, it's going to be hard to improve on next season, Dan. If we get 90 points, like somehow we've got to get 95 to win a league. It's going to be tough. But
well, that's what Liverpool have had for the last.
Yeah, that's the job we've got to do, and go again. And it's going to be tough. But again, I'm so proud of the players on Sunday. That was a real top performance, and some superb players in there.
Yeah.
And do you know what, Jorginho, he's done fantastically well, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's done fantastically well for us. I don't think he's going to be around for forever, for many years at Arsenal. But, if Arsenal were to go and win the league, it'd be a massive contribution. Massive.
Well, listen, Trossard and Jorginho, if we do win that league, people will remember them for the right reasons, weren't they? Signing, they've been superb. 100%. Let's close on some super chats, mate. This one comes in from Canadian Gooner 1995. It says, in the summer, we need to sign a world-class player. We've only got Odegaard that's world-class right now. Yeah. I even think an upgrade on Zinchenko is needed. Maybe João Cancelo, Lee.
Well, listen, that's a great point, because as well as what we've done this season, we haven't got a world-class player in the team now. Odegaard will become one, we know that, but and Saka and Martinelli are potentials, but that is a thing. You look at Manchester City, they've got world-class players. We haven't got that, so we need to get in some world-class players or develop them in there. I'm not saying if we go and buy Casido and we go and buy Declan Rice that they're world-class players, but they're class. We need to get them into world-class.
Fair play, man. This next one comes in from Chaitanya. This is a really good one. Big up Chaitanya. It says, looking back at the 3 draws, was it a mistake not playing Trossard for Saka in those games? Before I say, I'm going to say that Trossard got Player of the Month in March, and we didn't see him at all in April, pretty much. That's poor. For me, maybe not Saka, maybe not Martinelli. He needed to come in. He could have come in for any of those positions. And I still think when we were on fire, just before that little blip, Trossard up top with Saka and Martinelli was absolutely on fire, and he got Player of the Month against Fulham. He was outstanding. He got 3 assists in the first half. He carried that through for all of that month. He was brilliant. And I thought it was a little bit harsh. Now, it might not be for, like Chaitanya says here, for Saka. Could have been for any of the 3 positions, but do you think we should have used him more, Lee?
Yeah, I think if we look back on that, and it was a mistake, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. We all want Jesus coming back in there. In the first couple of games, he was sort of sharing it with Jesus, wasn't he? But then Jesus was fit, I think. And if you remember rightly, at the beginning of April, Leeds, he gives Saka a rest and played Trossard. I think that what he could have done was just rotated all the 3 of them at the same time. So they've, like, say, for one game, Trossard would have been in, and then Martinelli would have been left out, Jesus left out, and then Saka. And then on the 4th game, maybe, pick and choose your games, Trossard would have been left out. I just think that we didn't do that quite good enough. I have to say, in hindsight, maybe could have left out Saka for a couple of games and all that. But don't forget, he was flying before, the World Cup, the international break. And he just dropped off a little bit, and said it at the time, playing those games for England. He played both games for England, no need for it. Maybe cost us a little bit. Maybe should have just left him out. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Like but Trossard, didn't really play that much on Sunday, and we get the result. So it's a difficult one, Dan. But I just think maybe looking back on it, we could have just tinkered with it a little bit more.
I think you're right, mate. Which leads into this one. Cliff, big up Cliff, says bottom line is if Arteta had taken the same initiative against Liverpool, West Ham and Southampton that he did on Sunday, we would now be laughing. Too little, too late. Hashtag bottler. I think he deserves a hell of a lot of praise this season, Arteta, for putting us into a title race. But I'm with Cliff. I actually do believe that I do have still some concerns about his in-game management. And I think across those 3 fixtures, and I'm going to make it 4 plus the Etihad, there were things he got wrong. At Anfield, 8 times Zinchenko was getting done. Took him to the 88th minute to take him off for Tierney, and we were already 2-2. Against West Ham, I think he got it completely wrong in the second half. And against Southampton, we played Fabio Vieira, who was nowhere near good enough. And since then, he's changed everything. Jorginho's come in instead of Vieira. Kivior's come in instead of Holding. Tierney's now coming on instead of being left on the bench. And he's now bringing on Trossard for game time as well. It's like maybe Cliff's right, little too late. I'm not going to start using the term bottler because everyone seems to hate it when we use that word. But for me, I think it's okay, Lee, to question that perhaps Mikel Arteta got things wrong in the last few games.
Listen, I think, as again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I feel that when Xhaka weren't fit for those games there, I think he should have played Jorginho. I said that at the time. Jorginho should have come in, should have gone for that one there. The game against Liverpool, listen, he done it on Sunday when we was 1-0 up and brought Tierney on. I felt he should have brought Tierney on 20 minutes before he did in the Liverpool game. I think that was a mistake. But it's funny how everybody picks up on the mistakes. What about the substitution for Smith Rowe for Nelson in the game against Brentford? You know what I mean? That was a masterclass, as far as I was concerned, and got us the result. And that was a ruthless decision. He's made mistakes. There's no 2 ways about that. I agree. I don't think you can defend some of the mistakes that he's made. I don't think the biggest mistake that I think that he's made all season, he's not been able to resolve the defensive issues. I think we've conceded far too many goals at home. It's not been addressed, and I think it come back to bite us probably at Southampton. Was it Vieira's fault that we give away a goal in the first minute against Southampton? Then we was like, 2-0 down. Before the game had even got started, we were 2-0 down in that game. So, I think that there have been mistakes. Of course, there's been mistakes made and things like that. And but listen, Pep's made mistakes at City, and it's cost them titles and it's cost them Champions League. So you have to live with them every now and then. And what I like about it is that if you've made those mistakes, then learn from it. That was the thing that really wound me up about the West Ham game. That's why I had the ump at the West Ham game more than any game. Because we was 2-0 up the week before and we let it go, lessons not being learned. They are learning those lessons now. So I think it's a fair points. I think that if you sat down with Arteta and said to him, where do you think, what you could have changed? I think he would turn around and go, well, I probably should have played Jorginho for those games. And when you watch the game against Newcastle, it's been a mistake. So that would be one of them there. And I would say, 10 minutes earlier, if he'd have put Tierney on against Liverpool, I think we might have seen it out. But listen, it was, some fantastic goal. And listen, the penalty was the penalty, wasn't it? So, and that was Holding making that mistake. So listen, mistakes, they've been there, and we just got to live with them. And, but yeah, I think that, it is a couple there.
I think you're right, mate. Last question of the night is from me. Are Manchester City going to drop points is question number 1. And question 2, if so, who are they going to drop them against? And I'm talking just the Premier League here. They've got Everton away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away, and Brentford away.
Everton, of course, is because it's in between those Real Madrid games. I think if they beat Everton, then it's done. I don't see. I could see them probably drawing against Brighton, and that's about it.
I'm going to agree. I think if they are to drop points, it will be Brighton away. I think Brentford, they seem to be on the beach the last few weeks, if I'm honest with you. And by then it could be curtains anyway. And Everton, I just think they are going to be too strong for them. I can't lie to you.
Yeah.
To end, I'm going to bring my boy Turkish in because this is class.
You're going to bring that clown in, are you? That absolute joke of a man, like, you know what I mean? And that comment that he's just made, like, you know what I mean?
Big up Turkish, man. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Big Six. By far the best channel when you.
That's if he turns
up. I
up.
would say that because I'm biased, but of course, make sure you do that, man. Absolutely wicked show. Big up Turkish. Dan, is Lee late to streams for you as well? Just asking. It's becoming a concern for us on Forever Arsenal. Can't judge us. You need to stop doing your hair, man. You got to like get on there on time and
Listen,
stuff.
I've been that sucker has been late, like, you know, like, you know what I mean, more than once he has, like, you know what I mean. And I had done it once, and I've been pillared for it, like, you know. He's been late, right, for the forever, and not only late, Dan. He's cancelled shows where we've had to do them late at night, and one we had to do at 2:00 in the morning because he didn't get up, right, and he's been docked 2 points. All of his I've been docked 1 point for being late already once, but it's under appeal. Let me tell you that, like, you know,
it's under appeal.
It's under appeal.
Who's winning? Who's winning at the moment on that? By the way, on your prediction.
Why do you think he's in the chat? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I knew he was. I just wanted to wind you up.
But listen.
You
know, I don't suppose that, you know, he'll come back on, like, but if he does, you know, on the Forever Arsenal, there was only one person, like, you know, there's only one person that predicted an Arsenal win against Newcastle. And I can tell you that now. It wasn't him down there. He you know, you can guess what he predicted.
He probably predicted what I predicted. Me and Turkish seem to be on the same wavelength quite a lot. So big up Turkish, man. Make sure you head over to Forever Arsenal and you can see what Lee is predicting for our next game against Brighton in the next few days. That's a big game now, Lee. Well, they're all big games, let's be fair. But it's going to be Brighton for Forest or Wolves, where we need a 100% record, and then it's just basically looking at what Man City do, man. So let's see what happens. Look at Turkish, man. He's loving it.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to be honest. He's talking about getting stars printed on his shirt and all that, like, you know, because he's white, like, he's intolerable, really, like, you know, but. The fact is, you know, like the other two are even worse than him. So it's if I don't win it, it's going to be intolerable. Like, you know what I mean? And
you can't lose to Jordan or James, man.
No, you know, we've done it for this is the third year we've done it. So I've waited. He's got his stars on. He's got one each at the moment, like, you know. So you know,
double champ. He's saying double champ.
Double champ there, double chomp. You know what I mean? So he's like he's going to win it, like, you know what I mean? So
listen, that's at least you can both have some positive chat. Whatever happens at the end of that season, you can go and compete. So that's all good, man.
Yeah, well, you know, and I tell you what, having a look at the shirts this season, if they are rumoured to be the ones that be rumoured. You know what I mean? I've got to pay for half of his one and then get myself one as well. Like, you know, not good.
Listen, we're going to wrap it up, people. Make sure you go and follow the Big Six and Turkish and obviously AFTV at the Forever Arsenal podcast. Make sure you do the same for us here. We're on the way to 40K, so make sure you subscribe and like this video. If you can come and do the same for me, I'm on my way to 10K. Football's 12th Man podcast. That would be amazing. We'll be on tonight at 10 p.m. after the Real Madrid Man City game, where I imagine it'll be a wicked game. What's your prediction for that, Lee, by the way?
That's a good thing. I'm going to go 2-1 Real Madrid.
I'm going to go 2-2 tonight. I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be a cracker. I really do.
4-0 to Man City.
Dave, come on, man. Have some faith, bro.
Real Madrid fan, you know what I mean?
Real Madrid fan, no faith, bro. Come on, man. Come on. You'll be all right, Dave. You'll be all right. People will see you next time. Make sure you smash a like and sub on the way out. And until then, up the Arsenal.
Count
Take it
you
easy.
guys.
That's all from me and Lee. Laters.